wonderful things you've done, for all the victories that you have won, as joy comes with the rising sun.
Thank you for joining the podcast of the International Committee on Nigeria. I'm your host, Tay Pam. Since January to October 2020, there has been over 3,000 deaths by Boko Haram and Fulani militants in Nigeria. From just the first 2 weeks of October, there has been 60 deaths and there has been 1,500 abductions since January to October 2020 in Nigeria. As we continue to talk about these statistics, we want you to know that these are not just individuals, they are members of families, members of communities, and people that contribute to the growth and development of their community and the country at large. We would like you to join us in stopping this silent slaughter in Nigeria by being part of what we're doing as an organization and as a group. For the past 2 weeks, we've been talking about how the crisis in Nigeria has affected women, first of all, and then how it affects men. Today on the podcast, we're going to be talking to Mrs. Helen Ochidi, and she's going to be talking to us on how this violence in Nigeria affects children. Mrs. Ochidi, you're welcome to the podcast.
It's a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you for creating time to be with us today. I would like you to just say a little bit about who you are, like introduce yourself a little bit.
Okay. My name is Mrs. Helen Ochidi. I'm an educationist and also a child evangelist. I work with children of all ages, both for spiritual growth and educational pursuits, developing their future through education.
That is awesome. Thank you once again, and it's an amazing job you're doing out there. We pray that you continue to excel in that. In regards to educating children and taking care of children, and then the crisis and the conflict happening in Nigeria, what would you say are some of the struggles, the greatest struggles of these children in regards to this crisis and these attacks?
Okay, thank you very much. Very important question. We see a lot of children struggling in Nigeria, especially the areas affected by the crisis. A lot of them are not in homes. They're in what we call the IDPs. That is where they put them. In these IDPs, there are no schools. There are no facilities for children. Children live together with adults and who are not necessarily their own parents. There are children whose both parents have been killed, and they just threw them into this IDP, and they are there. They don't know who is their guardian, who is their parent. They just mingle with adults, and they are facing so many dangers, and no one is taking care of children in particular. When anything is taken to the IDP, it is taken to the group. There's no demarcation for children. There's no demarcation for anything that affects them for their own age, on how they can be reached, especially for their own needs. So children are facing a lot of things, struggling to live and struggling to survive.
That is really disturbing, and I know it's a big challenge because even my experience back in Nigeria is there are no systems or mechanisms that have been created to help these children deal with even the trauma of the experiences that they've had.
Exactly.
You touched a little bit, on that in regards to the fact that you said children are just lumped in this internally displaced people's camp. Would you say that there's an upsurge of, let's say, mental health issues that these children struggle with?
Definitely, a lot of upsurge in the mental issues. A lot of them don't know where they are. They don't know what is happening to them. They don't know what is happening to their future. No guidance, no direction for their lives. And a lot of them are confused about life. And especially those who are no longer, who are growing to certain age, like preteens and teenagers. They have tendencies to think that life is hopeless, life is useless, and a lot of suicide tendencies exist among this group of children because they don't have any hope for their future. They don't know anything about their life. They're just living for the day, and it's very, very traumatizing for them. When things like this happen, there's some children see their parents being killed physically, and there are no
Hmm.
counseling, no help to get them out of this trauma, and they just throw them into these IDPs, and they are there with no fighting for themselves, trying to look for what to eat, trying to have to cover them to see how they can cover themselves. There is no particular care for them, no counseling or anything that will help them with the trauma that they have gone through. And it's a very serious problem. And like I said before, there is no plan for their education, no plan for anything for their lives. And we just fear what the children are growing up to be. We don't know what is going to happen to them as they keep growing in these IDPs.
Hmm. That made me really scared because Nigeria is probably one of the population in Nigeria of young people is growing really fast. And
Mm-hmm.
if unfortunately there are groups of children that are growing without um those infrastructure to help them, especially those going through uh these mental issues as a result of the crisis, then it means that we're actually brewing a big problem for ourselves.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of emphasis internationally and everywhere in the world about how the need to take care of widows and let's say women that survive this crisis, in Nigeria. Uh, I would like you to tell us, what do you think is should be the Christian response, a response from the Christian community on how to take care of these children that are going through this trauma?
Okay, thank you. I think the Christian community are to do more, though they are doing, some of them go there for evangelism, and there's no particular uh, group attached to children. They go for general evangelism. So we like to see that uh, child evangelists be encouraged to go into these IDPs and be able to reach out to children and minister to them, and then be able to see what they can do to help them in establishing them. Now, some Christian communities have been helping in getting these children into homes, some homes, people that are ready to adopt them so that they can train them and then bring them up in the way of the Lord and also give them education. But they cannot do so much for everybody because the process of adoption is cumbersome, and a few homes are open to receiving them. But we're still working on parents that are willing to adopt through the right process so that they can get the children educated and also introduce them to Christ so that their future can be secured. At least spiritually, if they come to know the Lord, they can have hope for tomorrow. So Christian community should please wake up more and do more than they are doing, because the number keep increasing day by day because
Hmm.
the crisis has not stopped. And it's just that no news carry exactly what is happening in these affected areas. Sometimes you get to hear a little, but it's not
Hmm.
all that we hear about. So we need to go into the root of this place and then be able to find out what we can do more to help the children. Because I know that the government is trying, but they have not done so much. We need individuals to please partner with bodies to bring help to these children. If not, Nigeria of tomorrow is still in danger. If you don't
Yes.
plan for the children today, you are planning for disaster in the future, because we know that if you train children today, you are training the leaders of tomorrow. So we
Tomorrow.
need to pay more attention to the children and then see what you can do to help them and bring them up.
I agree with you totally. That is so important right now. You mentioned evangelism and discipleship. Do you think that I think it would be good for those groups to have a certain level of training on also trauma healing and counseling for these children, and so that they would help the children navigate spiritually, psychologically, and in other aspects of their growth. And yes. Thank you so much, Mrs. Helen Ochidi, for for your presence with us today. It has been a pleasure and an honor to be with you. We look forward to having you again on the podcast sometime soon.
All right. Thank you so much. I'm also delighted to be here. I've enjoyed this your talk, and you have opened up again my desire to do more than I'm doing in the life of these children. Thank you, and God bless you.
You're welcome. Have a beautiful day, Ma.
Thank you, and you too.
Yeah. So that's all we have for you today on the podcast. Please go to our website www.iconhelp.org. Find out what we're doing, see how you can get involved. Visit our social media platforms on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Make comments, ask questions, and just let us know what you think is a way forward to this silent slaughter in Nigeria and how we can continue to be practical in finding solutions that would enable people to navigate through this challenge that we have found ourselves in. Once again, thank you for always being with us here and have a beautiful weekend. Thank you.